Okay, I want you to do something for me right now. Doesn't matter where you're driving, at your desk, whatever. Just for a second. Swallow.
Hmm.
Maybe take a sip of water if you have some, or just, clear your throat.
It's so automatic, isn't it? It feels like
Ah.
nothing. It's probably the most mundane thing we do all day long.
Exactly, a total background process. But here's the thing. That simple act is actually this incredibly high-stakes performance of biological
Yeah,
engineers.
absolutely. A synchronized event. You've
But
got muscles, nerves, valves, all of it. And the scary part is when that machinery breaks, it's not just an inconvenience. It's really dangerous.
yeah, we're talking about the fine line between getting food into your stomach and suffocating. A fraction of a second.
Yeah, we just take these things for granted until they stop working. And with swallowing, the consequences are immediate.
So today, we're going to tear that process down. We're doing a deep dive into a condition called oropharyngeal dysphagia.
It's a mouthful, no pun intended.
Yeah, it really is. It's a specific type of pathology of the esophagus. Basically, it messes up your ability to eat and drink safely.
And to guide us, we've been looking at this fantastic lecture from Dr. G.S. Raju's YouTube channel. He has a whole series on the pathology of the esophagus.
Right. And Dr. Raju just gives this incredible, almost mechanical breakdown of how it all works
Yeah.
and, what happens when the system crashes.
So our mission today is sort of threefold. First, we'll reverse engineer what a perfect swallow even is.
Then we'll learn how to, play medical detective, how to spot the problem just by listening to someone's story.
And finally, we'll get into the workarounds, the plumbing hacks, you could call them, that doctors use to keep people fed when the main system is down.
I think symphony is the perfect word for it, which you mentioned, because it's not just one thing happening, it's a cascade.
It really is.
So let's unpack that. Dr. Raju talks about a successful swallow. Before this, I honestly just assumed gravity did most of the work. You chew, you swallow, it falls down.
That's what everyone thinks. But if it were just gravity, you couldn't swallow lying down.
Right. Or upside down, which you can do.
You can, though maybe not with hot coffee. Dr. Raju explains it's actually a propulsion system. It's an active push.
Okay, so let's walk through it. It starts with the bolus.
Right, the bolus, which is just the fancy word for the little ball of food or liquid you've made in your mouth.
And the first step is voluntary. You decide to push it back.
That's the only part you control. The moment it passes the back of your tongue, it's all autopilot.
Okay, so it enters the pharynx, and this is where Dr. Raju says the traffic control is just critical.
It's a busy intersection back there. You've got a road to the nose, a road to the lungs, and a road to the stomach. The bolus is only allowed down one of those.
And that's the stomach.
Yep. But the other two are normally wide open so you can breathe. So in a split second, the body has to slam those gates shut. First, the soft palate shoots up to block off the nose.
Right, so you don't get food coming out your nose.
Which is unpleasant. But the second one, that's the life or death one, the bolus cannot go down the windpipe, the trachea.
Into the lungs.
Exactly. Lungs are for air, not steak. If food or liquid gets in there, that's called aspiration, and that can lead to, pneumonia, serious infections.
So it's this split-second maneuver. Route the package to the esophagus, seal the nose, seal the lungs.
And to make it even more complex, the gate to the stomach itself, the upper esophageal sphincter, is usually clamped shut.
Oh, right.
So at the exact same moment the airway closes, that sphincter has to relax and open up.
One door slams shut, another one swings open. It's incredible.
It is. And this is where Dr. Raju uses this really great metaphor. He says it's not just muscles, it's the nerves. The nerves have to play the right tunes for this to happen.
I love that. Play the right tunes. It's about rhythm, timing, harmony.
Yeah. If the nerves fire too early or too late or in the wrong order, the tune is off, the music stops.
And when that music stops, that's what we call oropharyngeal dysphagia.
That is the definition, a disturbance of that coordination.
So here's what I found really interesting. How do you diagnose this? You'd think, okay, let's get them in an MRI, some big fancy scan.
You would think so. But Dr. Raju makes this really profound point. He says it's very easy to recognize by just listening to the patient's story.
Just the story.
The history. What they tell you is happening every day is often more diagnostic than any test.
And he gives this perfect case study. It's a bit of a tough story, but it really paints the picture.
Yes, he talks about an 80-year-old man who had recently had a stroke.
Okay, and a stroke can damage the brain's ability to send signals to play the tunes.
Exactly. The software is damaged. So this patient starts having trouble swallowing. But it's the details that matter. It wasn't just that he struggled with like a piece of bread.
No, this is the part that got me. The source says, Even saliva was causing trouble to him.
Just think about that saliva. We swallow it constantly without ever thinking.
And he was coughing and choking on his own saliva.
That's a huge red flag. It means the system is so broken, it can't even manage the baseline fluid your own body produces. The airway protection is failing.
And then there's a water test.
Right. Dr. Raju says if you give this patient water, he chokes immediately.
Which feels backward. You'd think water's thin, it's easy, solids get stuck, liquid should just flow.
They're actually much harder to control. Think about it. Water moves fast, it splashes, it requires the quickest reflexes to manage. So if your tune is playing in slow motion because of a stroke, that water gets to the windpipe before the door has time to close. Something thicker, like yogurt, moves slower. It gives the system more time to react.
So the big takeaway from Dr. Raju is if you hear that specific story, someone, maybe post-stroke, choking on water, choking on their own saliva.
You don't need a scan. You already know what you're dealing with. That cluster of symptoms is the diagnosis, more or less.
Now, we mentioned a stroke, but he points out that's not the only thing that can break the machine.
Right. The stroke is common, but you can have a problem with, let's stick with the metaphor, a problem with the conductor or a problem with the musicians.
I like that, the conductor being the nerves.
Exactly. Dr. Raju lists nerve problems as a category and specifically mentions motor neuron disease.
Like ALS.
Yes. In that case, the nerves themselves are degenerating. The sheet music is fading, the instructions aren't getting through.
So that's the software.
But then you can have a problem with the musicians, the muscles.
And that's where he brings up myopathies.
Right, different forms of muscle disease. The nerves might be sending the signals perfectly fine, but the muscles are too weak to respond. The musicians can't play the notes.
But either way, conductor or musicians, the result is the same. The swallow fails.
And that brings the endoscopist in. They've heard the story, they know the problem, now they have to act.
This is that stop and pivot moment you mentioned. You can't just tell someone, oh, just try harder to swallow.
No, that would be incredibly dangerous.
So what's the immediate goal?
Two things. One, you have to provide nutrition. Simple as that. But two, and this is the critical part, you have to avoid aspiration. Stop anything from going into the lungs.
Aspiration pneumonia.
Exactly. Which for an elderly patient who's already recovering from a stroke can be fatal.
So what's the plan? How do you feed them without that risk?
The plan is strict. Dr. Raju says patients are told not to take anything by mouth. NPO, nil peros.
Nothing. No food, no water. That's a big deal.
It's drastic, but it's necessary. If every sip is a game of Russian roulette with pneumonia, you have to close that route.
But they still need fuel. So we have to find a back door.
A side door, yeah. We have to get nutrition directly into the stomach or the small intestine, completely bypassing that broken interchange in the throat.
And this is where the tools come out, the nasal tubes.
Right. The nasogastric or nasojejunal.
Yeah, took that down. Naso for nose.
And gastric for stomach, or jejunal for the jejunum, which is part of the small intestine.
So describe the path this tube takes.
A doctor passes a thin, flexible tube into one nostril. It goes back down the pharynx.
Wait, it goes through the pharynx, the danger zone.
It does, but it's a closed tube. Think of it like a garden hose running through a hallway. Even if the hallway is a mess, the water stays inside the hose.
Got it. So it bypasses the need for the muscles to work. It's just a delivery chute.
Exactly. It guarantees the food gets to the stomach without spilling into the lungs.
But having a tube stuck down your nose and throat does not sound comfortable.
It's not. And Dr. Raju is very clear about this. He says they're for short-term use, a few days or weeks.
Yeah, it says long-term use causes a lot of discomfort.
Oh, yeah. Imagine that constant irritation in your throat. It can cause sores and, it's socially difficult. You have a tube taped to your face.
So what happens if the problem isn't going away in a few weeks? Like with a severe stroke or progressive disease, you can't leave that nose hose in forever.
That's when you upgrade the plumbing. You move to the long-term solution, the PEG tube.
PEG. Yeah. Percutaneous endoscopic gastrostomy. Okay, let's break that down.
Percutaneous means through the skin. Endoscopic is the camera they use to place it. And gastrostomy is creating an opening, a stoma, into the stomach.
So this one doesn't go through the face at all?
Not at all. And that's the huge advantage. Instead of going down the nose and throat, they make an opening directly into the stomach from the abdomen.
From the outside, through the belly wall.
Exactly. The tube goes right through the abdomen and sits in the stomach.
How do they even place that?
It's actually really clever. The doctor puts an endoscope a camera down the throat just for the procedure. It goes into the stomach, and it has a bright light on the end.
Okay.
They shine that light up against the stomach wall, and if the room is dark, you can literally see the light glowing through the person's skin.
No way. That's wild.
It's called transillumination. It shows them the exact spot where the stomach is touching the abdominal wall. They make a small puncture right there at the light and feed the tube directly in.
So it just,
Yeah.
it bypasses the entire broken system.
Yeah.
The nose, the throat, the esophagus, all of it.
Completely. That whole complex symphony we talked about. We just cancel the concert and deliver the food straight to the venue.
And it's just a much more stable, comfortable solution for long-term care.
Yeah, you can hide it under a shirt.
Yep.
For a patient who needs that support, it gives them back a significant amount of dignity.
It's amazing. The body fails at this fundamental task, and medicine just says, all right, fine, we'll build a new tunnel.
It is, but it all goes back to the beginning. The PEG tube is the end of the road, but the journey started with just listening to the story about the saliva and the water. If you miss that story, you don't intervene in time.
It really circles back to that idea of the tunes. The body's music goes off key, and the doctor steps in to reroute the whole audience through a side door.
That's a great way to put it. It really captures the management of this condition.
It's just a fascinating look at how fragile we are, but also how resilient, with the right help.
It is, and we should definitely give a shout out to the team Dr. Raju mentions that helped put his material together.
Absolutely. The source material explicitly thanks Dr. John Storline.
And Mr. Charles Butt.
And the illustrator is Angela Deal, who created the visuals for the lecture.
It takes a team.
It really does. Okay, so let's recap. We started with a simple swallow, which is actually a complex biological ballet.
We learned that when the tunes from the nerves or the strength of the muscles fails, from something like a stroke, that ballet turns dangerous.
The big red flag is the story. Choking on saliva and water, because thin liquids are the hardest to control.
And then we saw how medicine pivots. From the short-term fix of a nasal tube to the long-term, more permanent solution of the PEG tube.
It's a powerful reminder of how much is going on under the hood that we never even think about.
It brings up a final thought for me. We're always looking for these super high-tech cures, stem cells, robotics, which is great. But sometimes the most profound medical intervention is just really clever plumbing. It's physically bypassing a broken part to sustain a life. It's simple, it's mechanical, and it's incredibly effective.
That's a great point. We're just these complicated organic machines, and sometimes you just need a mechanic to install a bypass valve.
Exactly. Sometimes the simplest solution saves the life.
Well, next time you take a sip of coffee, maybe just take a half second to appreciate that symphony playing in your throat. It's a hell of a performance.
It really is. Just don't think about it too hard while you're doing it.
Fair enough. Thanks for diving in with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.